Hi there. Happy New Year. I'm David A. Fields, and this is 15 minutes of consulting best practices. Maria Isabel is out this week, so you've got me on your own. If you have not been here before, this is just straight up Q&A. You type questions in on the platform. Eventually, they show up here. Do me a favor and add your name to the question because it doesn't always show up. And we answer your questions for 15 minutes. We'll start with stuff that is already in the can. I think we have some left over from last year. But also, at least post a comment telling me how your New Year's was. Anika, Happy New Year's to you. Okay, Deidre, what do we have left over from last year? Because I know we had a couple that we didn't get to. Let's see what we've got. From Susan. How do you change a client's mind about the need for an RFQ? Okay, I spoke to a new sponsor at an existing client. She spoke with a subordinate who had worked with me prior, was happy with my work and recommended me. Okay, so that's good. We had a good first discussion about the project, but the sponsor said her next step was to issue an RFQ of multiple suppliers. Well, that bites. What's the right next step? Okay, got it. So you have a relationship with a subordinate. Sounds like you don't have a relationship. Hi, Grant. Don't have a relationship with the sponsor. The sponsor said need to go at an RFQ. Your right next step is just to understand why they're issuing an RFQ, because there are a couple possible reasons. One reason is just that procurement is requiring them to issue an RFQ, and they're planning on working with you anyway. But in a lot of organizations, if the spend or the project is above a certain amount, an RFQ is absolutely required. So that's one possibility. Now, there's also a possibility that the sponsor feels like it is their responsibility to always get the best possible supplier for important work, and that means shopping around a bit, and that's really pretty legitimate. And then, of course, the third possibility is you've just not built up trust yet, or perhaps some combination of all of those. So I think that trying to talk a decision maker whom you don't know well, the sponsor in this case, out of issuing an RFP would be a mistake. And actually, I think it would reduce your likelihood of winning the project, because it shows it actually highlights the lack of trust. So instead of trying to fight it, you might say something like, that's a great idea. Going for finding out who else can provide and what other solutions there are. However, there's some complexity in this project, and you want to make sure you're receiving quotes for the right work. So would you like some help framing the RFQ so that the right work is in it and the wrong work is excluded? Okay, so you could offer something like that. And then if they take you up on that offer, you can shape the RFQ a little bit. At the same time, you become more trusted, which increases your odds of winning. So if you cooperate with them, you increase your likelihood of winning. And look, if you're the best resource and you are most trusted, you will win the business. And if you're not, you won't. If you're not the right resource, you shouldn't win the business anyway. So I mean, it's not guaranteed to you. It's always hard when you feel like you should be the preferred vendor and you're not. But don't fight it. You always want to be on the same side of the table with your client. So that's my thoughts there. Okay, let me just take a quick scan down because people are saying hello. So hello to everybody. Lots of people are saying hi, and I appreciate it. And Happy New Year to you all. Lots of local fireworks in the Netherlands. All right, excellent. How can we change the status quo from RFP RFQ to requesting a brief phone call? Is that it sounds like that's related. Even when there's an RFQ, unless it's a government situation, usually the buyer is open to a conversation about it, to have a discussion. So I need some clarification, perhaps, on what the question is. Preston, you're saying, if possible, can you influence the RFQ? Whoops, it's gone. If you are early in the buying process. Yeah, again, you want to participate in the framing of the RFQ or the RFP. Our saying around here is, if you didn't write the RFP, you're not going to win the RFP because there's usually a consulting firm that has participated in the building of it. So I agree with you. Colette, systems tactical question. What application software system do you recommend to manage a pipeline, a CRM? It doesn't matter what you use. It matters how you set it up. We use Pipedrive, and a lot of our clients use Pipedrive. It's fairly simple. It used to be simpler, and now they've added too many features, but it's still a nice, simple visual CRM. Really, though, it's not about the tool, because there almost any CRM software will work. It's setting up that software correctly, and then having it managed well. That makes all the difference. But if you're looking for one, Pipedrive. Deidre, we may have a link for Pipedrive also. If so, we'll post that. Are there an aggregator site where private clients post their RFPs? I've seen government projects in my niche, but not from private clients. Also, is this a decent approach? There are all sorts of staffing agencies. If I'm understanding your question right, Abbas, Umbrex, Catalant, Graphite, Umbrex if you fit, or Veritux, TopTal, 10X. Really, there are tons of sites where large companies go to get a consulting team assembled for them, or to find an individual who can do consulting work for them. And we could do a whole session, and we've written some about how to win business on sites like that. I will tell you, it is getting harder and harder to win business on those sites, because the use of them has gone down a little bit by clients, and the competition has exploded. So as long as you are very, very narrow, and you have a relationship with the platform itself, and you are fast in your turnaround, you've got a shot of winning. And it's a perfectly legit strategy to win work. Larry, how would you respond to this? That's Larry, I'm gonna have to go to your question after a bit, because it'll take you a long time to read. Aaron says, Happy New Year. Have you heard of a consultant getting around RFPs by having exclusive intellectual property? Well, of course. I mean, most consulting business is not done through RFP. Most consulting work, again, outside of government work, is sole source. It's because there's already a trusted consulting firm, and that consulting firm is trusted sometimes because of their IP, and quite often because of the relationship, and they seem like a very credible source for getting the work done. So yeah, if you are, even if there's an RFP, if you go in and you just have a better approach, an approach that feels more likely to deliver the answer, you'll win the business, because that's what clients are looking for, a credible, reliable solution to their problem. What is your advice for our people who are afraid of sales targets? I would love a little bit more context on that, and what you mean by afraid of sales targets. There are a lot of consultants who don't want to sell. And fortunately, I don't think consulting is sold. Consulting is bought. You can't push consulting, because if someone doesn't have a problem, they don't need your help. So, and you're not out there to create problems. So consulting is there to be won when a client has an aspiration that is unmet, or a problem that needs to be solved. And all your role is, as a consultant, is to ensure that a client who is in need can avail themselves of your outstanding solution. So business development is quite different from sales, I think. It is not a push activity. It's removing roadblocks to allow people who need your services to win them, or to buy them, procure them. And consultants who are afraid of sales sometimes just, again, they're conflating product sales with what we do as consultants. And a little bit of education, and a fair amount of education and coaching over time usually helps with that. Let me know if I'm answering your question. It goes for all of you. If I've missed your question, just let me know. Patrick Nolan, I have a small consulting practice, primary consultant, a full-time employee. What kind of profit goals should I have for my company? How should I track in relation to my personal income? Should I set a standard salary or cost for myself, then factor that? Tracking profitability. Okay. So if you're a solo consultant, your numbers are going to look a little bit different. Should you have a P&L, though, that's headed in the right direction? 100%. Should you pay yourself a salary? 100%, because you are treating this as a business. It's not a hobby, and you deserve a salary. Standard for the whole industry is good knowledge for everybody who's on the call. Standard for the industry is gross margins around 50%. So the cost to deliver the project is around 50%. That's your labor cost, primarily in consulting. And then your overhead costs, which is managing the business, which is acquiring clients, is building the business. All of that investment is typically around 30%, which leaves you a net margin of 20%. So let's say you're a solo practice and you're doing $500,000. A net margin of 100 grand would be a nice net margin. You're the primary delivery engine on that 500 grand of business, which means if you're doing all of it, then there's $250,000 of cost, which is kind of your salary. You just put in there. So your net income on that 500,000 might be 300, 350, something like that, which would be nice. But that's not all net margin. That's your personal income. And I would back out your income so you get a good P&L and you can look at your margins. For a small firm, I like to see solo firms be in the 30% range, maybe even a little higher. As you build your firm, your margin is going to come down, but your net income will go up. Patrick, hopefully that answers your question. Another question on RFPs. The RFPs I complete take a long time, hours to complete. I think a phone call is much more efficient first step to weed out the most. Yeah, I mean, sure, a phone call is always great if you can with an RFP. Also, you can improve your RFP process so it doesn't take you hours. Larry, thanks for helping. Colette, excellent. Colette, again, it's not about the pipe drive and CRMs. It's not about the tool. It's about the correct setup. And we can tell you exactly how to set it up and how to make a CRM work for you, because we have that completely figured out for consulting firms. Okay. So just ask, since I know you're starting work with us. Sales targets. We have 10 million, let's say, for the year. There are 5 of us who are doing business development. So we say that each of us try to have a target of 2 million. Yeah. That would be great. If you're hitting 10 million as a firm, it would be great if there's 5 of you each doing 2 million. It's highly unlikely. That would be unusual, and it would be just amazing and increase the equity of your firm if you've truly distributed your business development that well. It's more likely that one of you is doing 4 million to 5 million and the rest is spread out. However, if you are partners or people are at the partner level and you have determined that at the partner level, they have to carry a number and hit a certain number, then that just is what it is. That's part of the responsibility of being at the top of a consulting firm, is you have to bring in revenue. And if they're afraid of it, maybe they don't want to be at the head of a consulting firm. Okay, there were a couple we didn't get to, but crazy enough, we burned through our 15 minutes already, and don't want to go over the first week of the year. So thank you for being here. A couple of quick things before you go. First, we're here every Monday. So it's either me or Maria Isabel or both of us or someone else on the team. So put Monday Live, davidaffields.com, Monday Live in your calendar for 12:15 every Monday. And that way you're here with us. You see, we'll just bang through questions as quickly as we can. If you don't get our weekly articles, make sure you subscribe. Thank you, Deidre, for putting that down there. And they're quick hits and they're valuable. And that's it. Thank you so much for being here. Happy New Year again to you. I hope you have a fabulous week. I hope you just have an amazing 2025. And this whole year, you remember that consulting's not about me. It's not about you. It's about your clients. It's about your prospects. So give them value and give them kindness. And we'll see you next week. Take care.